Welcome back to Unlimited Reads. You're with Chris, and thanks for joining me today as I'll be sharing with you my reading possibilities for October. Now, October happens to be spooky season, so initially I was all in and I thought to myself, I'm going to read nothing but horror fiction for the month of October. However, this comes from being a mood reader. My plans have changed. Today, I found myself looking over my initial selections and I just thought to myself, a few of these books I'm just not as excited about as I was the other day. So I've made a compromise with myself in order to honour spooky season, and what I'm going to be doing is reading at least 2 horror titles, and the rest in this list I'm about to show you will be made up of books that I have been craving to read and I have been putting off, and I just can't resist any longer. So let's kick it off with the first book of the list, the first of 2 horror titles, and that is Salem's Lot by Stephen King. I don't even need to read the back cover blurb. Everyone knows this is a scary vampire book with the Marsden House and Barlow. Need I say more? This is going to be a reread for me. I have not read this book since I was a kid, and I have forgotten most of it. And I also wanted to read this one in October because of the forthcoming movie adaptation, which I would like to see at the pictures, because the latest trailer that I saw the other day is absolutely sick, and I'm really looking forward to it, and I think this is going to be my first read for October. I really can't wait. What a classic book to start with. Alright, the second of the 2 horror titles. This is something I haven't read since I was a kid either, and this author was massive in the 80s, and that is John Saul, and I am going to be reading Nathaniel, a scary story about a child ghost, and I'm going to read the back cover to you. Listen to this. For 100 years, the people of Prairie Bend have whispered Nathaniel's name in wonder and fear. Some say he is a folktale created to frighten children on cold winter nights. Some swear he is a terrifying spirit returned to avenge the past. But soon, very soon, some will learn that Nathaniel still lives, that he is darkly, horrifyingly real. Nathaniel, he is the voice that calls to young Michael Hall across the prairie night, the voice that draws the boy into the shadowy depths of the old, crumbling, forbidden barn, the chanting, compelling voice he will follow faithfully beyond the edge of terror. Am I going to be scared by this? Maybe. It has been so long since I've read it. I'm really looking forward to it. I bought this a few months ago and I've just wanted to read it for a while now, and spooky season is the perfect excuse for me to do that. So that is the second of the horror titles that I'll be reading. Now, let's get into the rest of the books, which I'm really happy with these selections. You know I am a Jack Ryan fan, right? You know that the Jack Ryan series is my favourite thriller series of all time. I've lived it and breathed it for years. Now, there is a spin-off series that Tom Clancy became a part of, and that was the Op Center series, which is a spin-off series about a special operations group that thwart terrorist acts and fight the war on terror. And I've decided to start the series, so I'm going to read the very first book, which I have never read before, and that is Tom Clancy's Op Center. And I'll read the back of this one to you because it sounds really good, and I can't believe I've put it off this long. Op Center is the beating heart of defence intelligence and crisis management technology. It is run by a crack team of operatives both within its own walls and out in the field. And when a job is too dirty or too dangerous, it is the only place the government can turn. But nothing can prepare Director Paul Hood and his Op Center crisis management team for what they are about to uncover. A very real, very frightening power play that could unleash new players in a new world order. So it sounds pretty cool. It is low commitment. It's only about 365 pages. I should be able to rip through that in no time at all. I do have about 9 others in the series, and I was surprised to learn earlier today when I was doing a bit of browsing on the net that there are actually 22 books in this series. So I've fallen well behind, and it's high time I started this. The next book is going to be a fantasy title, which I only just got in the post this week. Now, this is going to be the perfect primer for me before I start the Wars of Light and Shadow fantasy series from Janny Wirtz next year. So I am going to be picking up To Ride Hell's Chasm, which is her standalone fantasy novel, which has received great reviews and talked about favourably on BookTube. And I'll share with you what the cover blurb says for this one. When Princess Anja fails to appear at her betrothal banquet, the tiny peaceful kingdom of Cecily is plunged into intrigue. Charged with recovering the distraught king's beloved daughter is Mikhail, the rough-hewn newcomer who has won the post of captain of the garrison. A scarred veteran with a deadly record of field warfare, his interesting background and foreign breeding are held in contempt by court society. As the princess's trail vanishes outside the citadel's gates, anxiety and tension escalate. Mikhail's investigations lead him to a radical explanation for the mystery, but he finds himself under suspicion from the court factions. Can he convince them in time of his dramatic theory that the resourceful, high-spirited princess was not taken by force, but fled the palace to escape a demonic evil? How cool does that sound? It's a chunker. It is about 680 pages, almost 700 pages, but I can't put it off any longer. As soon as it arrived in the post, I wanted to pick it up straight away, and I didn't want to be bound down by just all horror titles anymore for October. So as a mood reader, I get to change my mind, don't I? But certainly looking forward to this one. The cover is sensational, isn't it? And it will give me a really good initial taste of Jenny Wirtz's writing style, preparing me for the Walls of Light and Shadow, which I'm going to be starting on January 1st. So there you go. The next book is one I've been putting off for a couple of months now, and this is The Housemaid is Watching by Freda McFadden. This is the third book in the Housemaid series. I read the first two books back to back and absolutely love them because Freda McFadden is really renowned for writing with multiple plot twists in her novels. It's not just a twist at the end, it's all through the book, and this one I have put it off for long enough and I just want to read the thing, and I'll read to you what this one's about. I used to clean other people's houses. Now I have one of my own. The charming kitchen, the quiet cul-de-sac, the huge yard where my kids can play. My husband and I worked so hard for this life. When our new neighbour invites us to dinner, a maid opens the door. Looking at her white apron and neat hair is like looking in the mirror. I know exactly what it's like to be in her shoes, but her cold stare gives me chills. That's not the only strange thing here. I'm sure I see a shadowy figure watching us. My husband leaves the house late at night, and one woman's words chill me to the bone. Be careful of your neighbours. I thought I'd left my darkest secrets behind, but could this quiet street be the most dangerous place of all? How far can one woman go to protect the life she so carefully built for herself? The Housemaid returns in this pulse-pounding roller coaster of a thriller from Sunday Times best-selling author Freda McFadden. So, I know I'm going to love it. I love the first two books. There is no reason why I won't like the third one, and just really looking forward to it. And I feel a little bit liberated that I am able to free myself from reading all horror books for the month of October. I am going to be honouring it with the first two books that I showed you, but really looking forward to this. And I have been wanting to read it last month and the month before, so finally I'm going to try and get to it. Alright, before I talk about the second last book in this list, I have to apologise for the lighting here, guys. The afternoon sun decided to filter itself through and it makes things look absolutely terrible, so apologies for that. But this book I'm going to talk about is the next book in the Detective Robert Hunter series from Chris Carter called The Death Watcher. Now, I remember reading the previous book in this series called Genesis and remember absolutely loving it. I can't believe I've put this off for so long. It's been sitting on my shelf for a few months, and I thought October is the month I'm going to give it some priority because it's such a great series. So let's see what this one's about. When a routine autopsy on what looked like a straightforward hit-and-run reveals some puzzling inconsistencies, Dr. Carolyn Hove, the LA Chief Medical Examiner, calls in Detective Robert Hunter of the LAPD Ultra-Violent Crimes Unit. Not only did Dr. Hove discover that the death wasn't caused by a hit-and-run, but she also found indications that the victim had been seriously tortured prior to death. What no one realises is that this death is just the tip of the iceberg, and it will lead Hunter and his partner Carlos Garcia on the trail of a twisted and clever killer who hides in plain sight. A serial killer no one even knew existed. A killer who has always operated under the radar, expertly disguising every gruesome murder as an accidental death. But with no leads as to why the victim was targeted, the investigation comes to a standstill until another body is discovered with an alternative cause of death. What becomes clear is that this serial killer isn't going to stop unless Hunter and Garcia can get to him first. So really interested in that. I think I'm going to enjoy it. I've enjoyed all the books in the series. When I first discovered the Rob Hunter series a few years ago, I ended up binging everything up until the latest book at the time. So this one is going to be a no-brainer for me, and I can't wait to share my thoughts with you on that. I will be reviewing a few of these books on the channel, so it is going to be awesome. And the last book on this list won't be released yet until the 22nd of October, so I won't be reading this one until the end of October, and I'm talking about Into Deep by Lee and Andrew Child, the next Jack Reacher book, which I'm chomping at the bit for. Nothing comes between me and this book. It will be a day one read for me. I'm really looking forward to it. Every time a Reacher book comes out, I look forward to it. Every October really gives me something to look forward to, and I have no doubt that I'm going to love it. I thought Andrew Child was going on his own with this book, but it looks like Lee Child contributed to this one as well. I am thinking the next book next year will be written by Andrew himself without Lee's involvement, but we'll see how that goes. But I'm looking forward to revealing my thoughts and opinions on the channel with this one as well. Can't wait to crack it open on day one. I've pre-ordered it. Can't wait for it to arrive in the post, and yeah, it is going to be awesome. So there you go, guys. That is it for my reading possibilities for October. Bit of a change of plan there, but variety is the spice of life, and yeah, really looking forward to it. Looking forward to sharing my thoughts and opinions on a lot of these books, which I will be reviewing on the channel. So thank you very much for watching. If you like my videos, please consider subscribing. But until the next video, guys, happy reading.